Chapter 11. Networking is like working. Why should you consider networking as work? Why do you always have to go for a lot of new contacts? Why do you always have to be in the picture, and how do you do that? Why do you network as an entrepreneur? The answer is obvious. Ultimately, it's about making your business more successful than you already are. You want to get your products and services to the attention of potential customers. You just don't know who they are yet. So you have to find that out first, and that's why you start working with networks. An aspect immediately emerges about what is smarter now. What are you going for? Do you network and only make contact with people you see as potential buyers? Or do you network, make sure everyone knows you, and make contact with everyone? What's smarter to do? My opinion is that when networking, you should always make as many contacts as possible. In the few hours you have, you talk to as many people as possible and collect as many tickets as possible. You go for the quantity first. Networking is an expensive, intensive way of promotion. The chance that you will immediately start business with a few new contacts is minimal. It happens sometimes, but your time and effort is simply too precious to bet on it. After all, you're standing there talking and drinking coffee for half a day. If you commit from start to finish to make as many contacts as possible, you increase your chances of successful relationships more than exponentially. Why more than exponential? Because you can assume that every person you make contact with also has a network of dozens of entrepreneurs. At LinkedIn, this average is around 150. If you come into contact with Lisbeth or me, you enter a network of a few thousand entrepreneurs. Why go for the ambassador? If you only focus on a few people with whom you want to do business directly, then you limit yourself to those few people as possible customers. If you think beyond the possibility of immediately getting that person as a customer, if you take the trouble to serve them unconditionally because you understand that that's how networking works, then you enter his network. If you enter his network, the number of potential customers increases by tens, hundreds, and sometimes thousands of entrepreneurs. Your new network contact may never buy anything from you, but if you help him well, he will be a fantastic ambassador for your person and company. Why do you always have to be in the picture, and how do you do that? We have now arrived at an aspect of networking that is perhaps the most powerful of all the insights you have gained here. If you act on this insight, you will reach more people than anyone else at a network meeting. Before you leave, everyone knows who you are. In any case, people recognize you without them noticing why that is now. If you consistently do what I'm about to tell you, making contacts becomes so easy that the term optimal, easy networking is an understatement. Back to the beginning, the chapter on entering. Do you remember that after entering you immediately take a tour of the space? The insight you now get is in line with that. What matters is that everyone sees you. Humans are strange creatures. You experience a stranger that you have seen more than once as an acquaintance. It is easier to approach someone you know. And what do we want? Easier networking. So what should you do? Make sure everyone sees you. Or rather, create recognition. It's about subtle behavior that makes you the most recognizable, seen guest in no time. This is so strong that even if you come to meetings less than another, people still experience that you are always there. What's the secret behind this? Make sure you're always in the picture. You already start with your tour after entering. When you walk around after the entrance, you immediately see where the speakers will be standing. You also see if there are photographers present. If so, shake hands and have a chat. If there are video cameras, you keep an eye on what they will focus on later. You also get to know the cameraman in a friendly way. If you enter a room with chairs, you assess where it is best to sit directly in front of the speaker. Are there places reserved for special guests? Then immediately investigate who they are. Keep all this information in mind. You'll need it all later. After your tour, you will continue networking as described. And now it comes. You know where the organizer will give his opening speech. You now ensure that you are in such a position that everyone can see you in line with the organizer. That position may vary depending on where the organizer is speaking from. The optimal position is that you stand next to or diagonally behind the speaker so that the audience and you can face each other to look. Don't overdo this. Stay subtle. While speaking, look around calmly and look as many people in the eye as possible. Do this neutral friendly. Not exaggerate. Keep an eye on whether the photographer is busy and make sure you are in a good neutral position when he takes pictures, and be sure to look closely at the speaker through the lens. These are all tiny details and exaggerated behavior, you may think, but what happens? You have created recognition among almost the entire audience. And you know that people are easier to talk to with a familiar face. It goes even further. The photos that are taken will sooner or later be published somewhere and voila, even more audience that will recognize you. This is useful if there is another network meeting with this audience. And it can go even further, and with that you go completely out of your comfort zone. In any case, you have to overcome your modesty for a while. Ask the speaker to do something about someone in the audience, such as drawing lots. Step forward immediately. Put yourself in the picture. Do this carefully and in a controlled manner, and always remain subordinate to the speaker. What matters is that everyone sees you. And think about your attitude, because the photographer is now at full throttle. If you make this a habit, it can happen that one day you are in the picture of hundreds of people in one fell swoop. Are you at a gathering with tens, hundreds, or maybe thousands of people and are asked if someone on stage wants to say something? Jump up. Do it. Break out of your comfort zone and get on that stage. You are instantly a familiar face to more people than you will ever speak to in a day. Connecting with the other important people who have been on stage has now become much easier. The important people in the reserved seats have all seen you. It is also much easier to get in touch with that now. And you have undoubtedly completely stepped out of your comfort zone and therefore grown quite a bit. Summary. By networking specifically with the aim of making as many contacts as possible, you increase the chance of actually doing business. When making contacts, always keep an eye out for potential ambassadors. And make sure you're always in the picture. Create recognition among all those present, because that makes contact much easier. What comes next? Chapter 12. Cross-network connections.